a lot of people across Canada have felt the strain during the pandemic, different areas of their lives, job loss, homeschooling, financial strain, public health restriction of social and outside activities. And those restrictions are having an effect on all family gatherings this holiday season. Most of you probably going through it already, having discussions with the family about what it's going to look like this year. Now imagine, and maybe you're experiencing this yourself, what it would be like for separated and divorced parents living in different households and wanting to see their kids, and maybe the kids travel back and forth. What are some of the things you need to think about, some of the things you need to consider as you approach the holidays with? And, you know, I hope not everybody who's co-parenting is getting along that well. I hope people do, because it's really important, I think, for the mental health of your kids above everything else. Joining us to talk about this situation and this problem is Alyssa Bach, associate lawyer at Shulman Partners LLP. Hi, Alyssa. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Barb. Thank you for having me.
This has got to be really tricky. Is this something that if you guys have helped a former couple set up their situation and their custody situation, will they come back to you about issues around my ex thinks it's okay for the kid to travel back and forth, I'm not feeling comfortable about it? Do you guys get called about that?
It's definitely something that we've seen more of since the start of the pandemic, and then coming into the holiday season, we're seeing again an increase in prior couples, current couples coming to us for advice about this holiday season and how to address it. It's a new experience for all of us, this pandemic. The restrictions are raising questions and creating challenges for all of the families, and it's especially true for separated families. On a general level, we're seeing tension around the holiday season even before a pandemic, and now we're adding in this added layer of complexity to the issues. Now, with Christmas and the New Year's, it's something that in previous years, parents could be looking at divvying up the time, saying, okay, I'm going to spend Christmas Eve, you've got Christmas Day, I'm going to go see my extended family, so I'd like to have more time than normal. Who are you seeing? But with this pandemic, we've got all of these new restrictions, and so getting on the same page as your co-parent about who are you seeing,
right,
where is your exposure level, and are there any safety concerns that need to be addressed?
Sure. I mean, it just adds a whole new element to it. Let me ask you, and I know our listeners who have had these agreements set up will know the answer. Do most agreements for custody tend to be specific when it comes to who has Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? Does it get that detailed?
A lot of parenting schedules do. You'll see that parents will figure out at the time that they're doing the separation agreement or at the time that they're first in court which holidays are important to be divided. A lot of times you see a division of kind of trading off either Christmas for New Year's or Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, sometimes a rotating schedule in even years and odd years. So a lot of times they're coming into this year with hopefully some level of predictability. Now, what we've seen from the courts with parenting schedules throughout the pandemic is that unless there's a reason to show that the other parent isn't safe or isn't practicing proper COVID protocols, that parenting schedules are supposed to be followed. So if you've already got this rigid schedule built into your parenting arrangement, it's encouraged that would continue to be followed. Where we're seeing issues is when one parent isn't taking the precautions seriously or as seriously as the other parent.
For sure. What should someone do in that situation?
So what we're encouraging everybody to do is definitely follow the public health guidelines in your region. Consider what's safe for you and your family when contemplating what the holidays are going to look like. Now, what works for one family may not work for another family. You may be dealing with one parent who has additional health complications, which could limit that maybe they're not seeing anybody over the holidays, and so they need to make sure that the other parent is also doing the same thing. You also need to look that just because something was in place last year, that may not work this year. We're in this very new experience of a pandemic for all of us, and so we're definitely encouraging people to plan ahead, be willing to compromise, start those discussions. Don't wait until the last minute or assume that the other parent is going to act the same way that you are. If you have concerns, make sure that they're being addressed preemptively so that the two of you can work together to try and figure out a solution.
There's a note here about social media posts, and what are you guys seeing that is encouraging you to tell people to be careful because social media posts can result in legal questions as to the fitness of a person as a parent?
So on a general basis, always be careful what you're posting on social media, anywhere public, and look at it and say, if a judge sees this, how are they going to view it? And also, if my co-parent sees it, is this going to raise questions? Now, with the pandemic specifically, it's something that some people are getting frustrated. It's been going on for a really long time. Maybe they don't agree with the government recommendations. And if they're publicly vocalizing that, it can have negative consequences if it ends up before a judge, because the judges have to look at it from the perspective that they're following the government regulations. It's not their place to sit there and to override what the government is saying. So if you're posting things that are clearly indicating that you're not following those protocols or the safety measures, it can impact your parenting time.
I see. That makes sense. Now, is there also an issue? I mean, does it happen that people will post negative comments about their co-parent?
Yeah, you can see that as well, that as much as people can be frustrated with the pandemic, they get frustrated with the other parent. And it's something that, as much as there's tension and conflict, especially after a separation, you want to stay amicable, you want to stay child-focused, and you want to keep those things private. You don't want that to be spread around. You want to make sure that, especially in co-parenting relationships, that you're maintaining a positive view of the other parent to the best degree possible. And if you don't have that positive view, you don't need to be posting about it publicly.
All right. Alyssa Bach, great advice. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
She's an associate lawyer at Shulman Partners LLP.